Okay, so let's dive into this whole HTML and CSS thing.
All right. Sounds good.
Especially if you're trying to like get into these top tech companies,
Yeah.
the FAAing companies.
Mhm.
Everyone's always talking about algorithms and data structures and back end, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this Algo Academy article we're looking at, they bring up a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Is it even worth your time to spend, like learning HTML and CSS
Right.
when it seems like all the focus is on these other areas?
Well, and it's funny because, things change so quickly
Dude.
in tech. Like
Yeah.
a few years ago, everybody was like, learn JavaScript frameworks. That's the ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's almost like the pendulum swung back a little bit towards,
Okay.
hey, you got to know the fundamentals.
Right.
Even if you're not, like a purely front-end developer.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe let's just start super basic.
Okay.
Let's say I'm new to all this. How would you even explain to me what HTML and CSS are?
Yeah.
And, I always hear people use this analogy of building a house.
Yeah. It's a classic for a reason, right?
Okay.
So think of HTML as the blueprint
Okay.
of your house. So like it defines where the walls go, how many rooms are there,
Okay.
where are the windows, the doors.
Okay.
And that's what it does for a website. It tells the browser, here's what content goes where.
Mm-hmm.
And what type of content is this? Is it a heading, a paragraph? Is it an image? Is it a list?
Okay.
All those things have these like special HTML tags that define what they are
Gotcha.
in the structure. So that's like your foundation.
And then CSS comes in to make it pretty.
Exactly. So that's all about style.
Go.
So it's the visual presentation. It controls, the colors,
Okay.
the fonts, the spacing, the layout,
Right.
how it looks on different screen sizes, So like,
So one's the structure, one's how it looks.
exactly.
All right.
So HTML provides the bones. CSS makes it look nice.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But here's where I get a little bit skeptical, right?
Okay.
Like, okay, let's say my goal is to get a job at Google.
Right.
Am I really going to be sitting there in an interview talking about
Right.
like how to make rounded corners with CSS? You know what I mean? Like when they're probably going to be asking me about some crazy algorithm.
Yeah, no, that's a valid question. And I think, honestly,
Yeah.
there are some developers, especially ones focused on the back end, who would say, you know what? You don't really need to master CSS.
Okay.
And especially now,
Yeah.
there are all these like no-code platforms and design systems, where they just kind of handle the styling for you.
Yeah. So maybe it's not as crucial as it used to be.
Right. But
Okay.
here's the thing. I think even if you're not writing, tons of CSS every day,
Okay.
understanding the fundamentals of it can
Yeah.
actually make you a better problem solver,
Oh, interesting.
which is what those FAAing interviews are all about, right?
Okay. I'm intrigued. I got to know more.
Yeah.
Tell me how CSS helps me with algorithms.
All right. So have you ever heard of the DOM?
The what?
It stands for Document Object Model.
Okay.
Sounds very fancy,
A
but
little bit. Yeah.
it's basically a way to think about your HTML structure,
Okay.
like a family tree. Like every element on the page
Oh.
is like a branch or a leaf on that tree.
Right.
So now when you're debugging
Oh.
complex web applications, even on the back end,
Okay.
understanding that DOM structure is super helpful.
Right.
Because you can kind of trace, like, okay, why is this thing not behaving the way it should? Oh,
Yeah.
it's because of how these elements are nested and how the styles are like cascading down from the top.
So it's almost like if a light's not working in your house,
Exactly.
you got to like understand the wiring
Yeah.
to figure out what's going on.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this ties into collaboration too,
Okay.
because if you're working on a team and you've got front-end developers, designers, if you can speak their language,
Okay.
if you understand HTML and CSS,
Right.
you can understand why they made certain design choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can give them better feedback,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can even jump in and help if needed.
Okay.
So it makes you like a more well-rounded team member.
It's like being a chef
Yeah.
who knows not only how to cook the food,
Right.
but where the ingredients came from
Exactly.
and how to prep them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And here's where it gets really interesting
Okay.
with those frameworks you mentioned.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about React these days.
Right.
And React uses this thing called JSX,
Okay.
which basically looks almost exactly like HTML.
What? Okay, I'm not.
So if you already know HTML,
Okay.
then picking up JSX is going to be way easier.
Okay, hold on. Give me an example because I'm not.
All right, so let's say you want to create a heading on a web page.
Okay.
In HTML, you would use the H1 tag
Okay.
like this. H1. This is heading 1. In JSX, within a React component,
Yeah.
it would look almost the same. H1, This is a heading one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the concepts are the same.
Yeah.
It's just implemented a little differently within that React world.
So it's not about being like a CSS master.
Right.
It's about knowing the core ideas.
Exactly.
So that I can learn the frameworks faster.
Yeah.
And work with these, front-end teams.
And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
companies like those FEAing companies,
Right.
they're looking for people who can solve problems
Yeah.
across all different areas
That's true.
of a web application. So even if you're focused on algorithms and
Yeah.
back-end systems,
Right.
if you have that knowledge of HTML and CSS,
Yeah.
it shows that you have a deeper understanding of how the web works as a whole.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just totally skip it.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I'm
Yeah.
still a little intimidated by, how much time I might have to spend
Right. Yeah.
learning all these details about, CSS and whatever.
Yeah.
When I feel like I have so much to learn about algorithms and data structures.
Right. And that's where I think Algo Academy's approach is interesting because
Yeah.
they're kind of saying,
Yeah.
don't skip it entirely, but be strategic about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So they have this 7-step roadmap
Okay.
that they talk about.
All right, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Let's see how it works.
Okay, so step 1,
Yeah.
spend a few weeks getting comfortable
Okay.
with the basics of HTML and CSS.
Okay, so we're not, becoming web designers.
Right. You're not becoming a master,
Yeah.
but you're just getting that foundation.
Gotcha.
Like imagine learning the alphabet
Right.
and basic grammar
Yeah.
before you write a novel.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here.
So, building those little Hello World websites.
Yeah.
Messing around with layouts and styles.
Yep. Get your hands dirty.
Yeah, okay.
See how the code
Yeah.
becomes what you see on the screen
Right.
and just start to get a feel for it.
Yeah. Okay, so Algo Academy gives you resources and exercises and stuff.
They do. They have some good stuff to guide you through this.
All right, so foundation's laid.
Yep.
What's next? Algorithms.
You got it.
Okay.
Step 2 is all about introducing yourself to programming itself.
Okay.
So you pick a language like Python,
Okay.
which is popular for data science and backend,
Mhm.
and you start to learn those fundamentals.
Right.
So like variables, data types, control flow, functions,
Oh.
object-oriented programming.
So learning the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is where it starts to get really juicy for those FAing aspirations.
Okay.
Step 3
Yeah.
is all about diving deep into data structures and algorithms.
Okay, here we go. The scary stuff.
Yeah, but it's so cool though, because
Yeah.
this is where you learn about all the different ways to
Yeah.
organize and store data.
Yeah.
Things like arrays, linked lists, trees,
Okay.
and how to manipulate them efficiently,
Hmm.
which is key for solving problems.
Okay, so can you give me, a real-world example?
Yeah.
How might Google use this?
Okay, so imagine you're designing Google Maps,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You need a way to store information about millions of locations,
Great.
roads, traffic conditions, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where data structures like graphs come in.
Okay.
So a graph is basically a collection of nodes, which are like locations
Right.
connected by edges, which are like roads.
Okay.
And by using a graph,
Yeah.
you can efficiently calculate routes, estimate travel times,
Right.
even predict traffic congestion.
Wow.
So knowing how to use graphs is
Yeah.
crucial for building efficient mapping systems.
Okay, so even though it sounds kind of abstract,
It is.
it has, real-world applications.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what those FAE interviews are
Right.
all about,
Yeah.
testing your knowledge of these concepts.
And Algo Academy really focuses on that.
They do. They've built their platform around it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've built our website,
Yeah.
decorated it, made it pretty.
Yeah.
We're starting to think like
Yeah.
programmers organizing data.
Yeah.
What's next?
Now it's time to build something real.
Ooh.
Step 4 is all about back-end development,
Okay.
the heart and soul of any web application.
So the brains of the operation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you pick a back-end framework, something like Node.js or Django,
Okay.
and you learn how to build the server-side logic
Right.
that powers your website.
Okay.
So this is where you get into databases,
Mhm.
API design, user authentication, security.
So it's like we built a model house before.
Yeah,
Now we're building a real one.
exactly. You're moving from the front end to the
Mhm.
back end,
I
the
got it.
stuff behind the scenes.
Gotcha. So I'm guessing all those algorithms we were learning about,
Oh, yeah.
this is where they come in.
This is where it all pays off.
Okay.
Because designing efficient algorithms is super important for building high-performance backend systems.
Okay.
You got to optimize database queries,
Yeah.
manage server resources,
Right.
handle large amounts of data efficiently.
Okay.
So all that data structures and algorithms knowledge
Yeah.
is going to give you a huge advantage here.
It's like every step
Yeah.
builds on the one before it.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'm excited to hear what's next.
Me too, but I think we
Okay.
got to save that for next time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we'll pick up where we left off
Okay.
and explore how the rest of this roadmap
All right.
ties those front-end skills back in
Okay.
to help you crush those FAing interviews.
Sounds like a plan. All right, so we've got the groundwork laid.
Yeah.
You know, we've got our HTML blueprint, our CSS decorations. We're starting to, think like programmers,
Yeah.
organizing data, building the back-end systems.
Right.
Feels like we're constructing a whole digital building here.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
But when does that front end come back in?
Yeah, so this is where it all starts to tie together.
Okay.
Remember how we said, even if you're focused on the back end, it's still good to understand the front end.
Right.
So step 5
Okay.
is all about mastering a front-end framework.
Okay.
And one of the most popular choices, especially for those FA companies, is React.
React. Okay.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. I hear that name everywhere.
It's everywhere.
But why is it so important?
Yeah, so React is all about building
Okay.
dynamic and interactive user interfaces.
Okay.
So remember we talked about like those complex web apps?
Like Google Maps and stuff?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So React gives you a really powerful way to build the front end
Okay.
for those kinds of applications.
So if HTML is the basic structure,
Yeah,
CSS is the styling,
right.
React is like the engine that makes it all work.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it lets you build these reusable components,
Okay.
which are like building blocks for your user interface.
All right.
And it uses this like declarative style of programming, which means you basically tell React what you want the UI to look like, and it figures out how to do it.
So I don't have to worry about all the nitty-gritty details.
Exactly.
Okay.
It makes it easier to manage complex state changes.
Oh,
Update the UI efficiently, create a smooth user experience.
okay, but didn't we say that you need HTML and CSS to learn React?
Yeah, so that's where it all ties back in.
Okay.
Because remember JSX?
Yeah, the HTML-like thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a core part of React.
Okay.
So if you understand HTML structure,
Yeah.
like how elements are nested,
Right.
JSX is going to be way easier to pick up.
Okay.
And even though React has its own ways of handling styling,
Okay.
knowing CSS concepts,
Yeah.
like the box model, positioning, flexbox,
Okay.
that's all going to make you a much better React developer.
It's like, I don't know, you're building a house.
Yeah.
You got to know how to frame it,
Right.
put up the drywall
Yeah.
before you start messing with the electrical.
It all builds upon that shared understanding.
All right. Okay. I'm with you.
And that's why Algo Academy puts the step
Right.
after you've already learned some HTML and CSS and some programming fundamentals.
Okay.
So you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
You're building on what you already know.
Okay. This roadmap is making a lot of sense now.
Yeah, it's like a recipe.
It is. Like each ingredient's added at the right time.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So step 6.
Yeah, step 6 is where you get to put it all together
Okay.
and build your own masterpiece.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's the full stack project phase.
Full stack. Okay.
Yeah, have you heard that term before?
I've heard it, but I don't really know what it means.
Okay, so full stack means you're working on
Okay.
both the front end and the back end
Oh, wow.
of an application.
Okay.
So you take everything you've learned,
Yeah.
HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React,
Mm-hmm.
your back-end language, database skills,
Okay.
and you build a complete web application
Wow. From start to finish.
from start to finish.
Okay. So, like, what would be an example of a project?
Okay, imagine building like a social media platform.
Okay.
So you'd use HTML and CSS to design the layout, the look and feel of the website.
Okay.
React to build those dynamic components like the news feed, user profiles, messaging features,
Right.
and then your back-end skills
Yeah.
to handle things like user authentication,
Okay.
storing data in a database,
Okay.
building the logic for all the social interactions.
So it's like going from learning the dance moves
Yeah,
to choreographing the whole routine.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And this is where understanding how the front end and back end work together
Yeah.
becomes super important.
Right.
You got to design APIs.
Okay.
So your front end can talk to the back end,
Okay.
handle data flow, make sure it all works seamlessly.
It sounds challenging,
It is challenging.
but also really exciting.
It is. It's super rewarding.
But okay, help me connect the dots here. How does building this project help me get a job at, like, Google?
So it's all about showcasing your skills.
Okay.
Right? When you go into those FNA interviews,
Yeah.
you're going to have something concrete to talk about.
Right.
You can say, hey, I built this. Here's how I use these different technologies. Here's how I solve these problems.
So it's not just about knowing it theoretically.
Right.
I can actually show them I can do it.
Exactly. And it also gives you a chance to learn and grow.
Okay.
Because when you're building a real project,
Yeah.
you're going to run into challenges.
Right.
You're going to have to think critically, troubleshoot,
Yeah.
and find creative solutions.
Yeah.
And that experience is super valuable.
Good.
It's something those interviewers are looking for.
So this roadmap is not just about learning specific things. It's about like building this problem-solving mindset.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the final step
Okay.
in the Algo Academy roadmap.
All right. Step 7. Bring it on.
Step 7 is continuous learning
Okay. That makes sense.
and interview preparation.
Okay. So the tech world's always changing.
Yeah, always changing.
Got to stay up to date.
Gotta stay sharp.
But how does interview prep fit into this?
So, even with all the skills you've gained,
Yeah.
you got to be able to show them off in those FAing interviews.
Yeah, those are tough.
They are.
Okay.
So this step is about honing those communication skills.
Okay.
Practicing your problem solving, learning how to articulate your thought process.
So it's like, I have all the ingredients for a great meal,
Yeah,
but now I got to learn how to plate it.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Algo Academy has a bunch of resources
Okay.
to help you with this.
Okay.
Mock interviews, behavioral interview prep, guidance on those algorithm challenges that you'll probably face.
It sounds like they've really thought of everything.
They really have. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got it all laid out.
From the foundation to the advanced stuff to the interviews.
Yeah.
I like it.
And what's really cool?
What's that?
This roadmap can benefit anyone.
Really?
Yeah, who's serious about software development, whether they want to work at a fan company or not.
So it's not just this narrow path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about becoming a well-rounded developer who can thrive anywhere.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's a good foundation no matter what you want to do.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
All right, this has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I'm feeling a lot more confident about this whole HTML and CSS thing now.
I'm glad to hear that.
I was skeptical at first, but I see how it fits in to this bigger picture.
I think that's the key takeaway. It's not about choosing one over the other.
Right.
It's about finding that balance, front end and back end, to reach your goals.
All right, so to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
remember, continuous learning
Keep learning.
is key.
Yeah. Never stop.
Never stop exploring.
And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
That's a good point.
Build things, experiment, make mistakes.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Awesome. All right. Well, until next time,
Yeah, see then.
keep coding, keep learning,
Keep pushing the boundaries.
keep pushing those boundaries.
Absolutely.
All right. See you later. Okay, so we're back. And wow, that Algo Academy roadmap is pretty impressive.
It is. It really lays it all out.
It's like we just walked through the whole blueprint for a tech career.
Yeah, I like that analogy, like a blueprint.
It's like, that saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But in tech, it seems like being a jack of all trades is actually a really good thing.
Absolutely, because you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
You know how all the different parts of the system fit together.
Right.
You can communicate with other people who specialize in different areas.
Okay.
And that makes you a really valuable developer.
So even if I'm not like building the front end every day, knowing how it works helps me on the back end.
I think so, yeah. It's like, imagine you're a chef.
Yep.
And you only know how to cook, but you have no idea where the ingredients come from.
Okay.
You can follow a recipe,
Right.
but you don't really understand the nuances of flavor.
Right. You can't create anything new.
Exactly.
So it's about having that deeper understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So you can make better decisions.
Right. So I'm not just blindly following instructions.
Exactly.
I kind of get it.
And I think that's what those FAing companies are looking for. They want people who can see the bigger picture, who can connect those different teams and technologies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And come up with creative solutions.
I have to say, I was a little skeptical about HTML and CSS at first,
I get it.
but I'm starting to see why they matter.
Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway. It's not about front end versus back end.
Right.
It's about recognizing that both are important.
Okay.
That balanced approach.
It's all about balance.
Exactly.
Whether you're going for FAng or something else.
Yeah, whatever your goals are.
Yeah, well said.
And to all our listeners out there.
Yes, to all the listeners.
Keep learning.
Never stop learning.
Embrace those new technologies.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try new things.
That's a good point. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, this is fun.
Keep coding, keep learning, keep pushing those boundaries.
Absolutely.
See you next time.